We sadly only have 20 more days of drafting. I'm taking advantage of it. Of course, this fine Friday night, we're going to be hopping in a Best Ball Mania draft. Largest fantasy football tournament on the planet. $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, $1.5 million for first. The top 20 places all get at least $100K, which is really nice because I got 16th place in Best Ball Mania a couple years back. Back then with that payout structure, it was a little more top heavy, so I only got 10,000. But regardless, I will not be having to worry about that this year because I'm winning this freaking thing. 2 spots open in this draft if anybody wants to hop in with us. Thank you, everybody, for coming in this Friday night. Hope that y'all had a great week, and we should have a pretty exciting day tomorrow with how many games there will be. We get pick 11 here. Pick 11's interesting because now you have Puka, now you have Jahmyr Gibbs both injured. It does murky the water just a bit of what we're going to look at with the 1-2 turn, because typically we were looking at going with Gibbs. We were looking at going with Puka where possible here. It makes it a lot tougher with these injuries to know exactly what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But Keith says, do you think it's a good idea to go in some of these drafts now? We have more information like the injuries. Yeah, not only do you have more information now, like such as the injuries that you're dealing with, but also you have more information about these guys that are going to be making rosters versus not. Like you have players that are falling off a cliff that aren't even really getting drafted anymore, such as Troy Franklin, such as, Vidal. Kamani Vidal was a running back a lot of people are excited about now. Obviously, it looks like he may not even be on the Chargers. So, personally, I think it's a great time to always get in a fantasy football draft, but today's definitely not a bad day to do it. I'll say that much. Okay. So, CMC, Lamb, Tyreek, all off the board. Super standard here. Really nothing is different, unique here. Now, Jay Swaggy says, drafted from the 105 in a puppy underdog tournament. Yeah, Underdog right now has the puppy 3, which is a $5 buy-in. I would highly recommend you doing the puppy 3, the $5 buy-in if you're new to Underdog. But anyway, quarterback, we have Burrow, Purdy. We go 0 RBs, so we have Montgomery, Swift, Moss, Chubb, Algier, Braylon Allen. So 6 running backs. I agree with that build. We have Chase stacked with Burrow. We have Debo stacked with Purdy. We have Ayuk for the double stack. This is a great team. So we have 2 double stacks with Cincy and San Francisco. Going over to tight end, we have Freiermuth, Johnny, Theo Johnson. Construction-wise, I think it's great. There are a couple of those different guys that I'm maybe not a massive fan of. Like, it does look like John who's slipping at the moment, but I do really like it in general. Jake says, can you do these drafts in Ohio? My guy, here's the map of where you can draft on Underdog. I am no geography expert, but it looks like you can hop in an Underdog draft in Ohio. But we are going to be back up on the clock here. I think we will take Puka Nacua. It's a very tough spot to draft Puka. It's a situation I'm not that excited about taking him. I was previously taking him over Garrett Wilson just with the injury. It is a little bit tougher. Let's see what the team at pick 12 and 13 ends up doing. Now, Tommy says, just did a Yahoo draft. Someone took Jerome Ford at the 303. That's why, like, hopping in just a random Yahoo mock draft lobby or a random ESPN mock draft lobby is really honestly not that useful, just because you were going to have people doing nutso things like that. Okay, so Harrison off the board at pick 12. This team's taking it down to the very end. Are they on auto? It looks like they may be. Here, what we are going to do is we are going to reach for a unique pairing. We will take Saquon Barkley to pair with Puka Nacua here. I do have Jonathan Taylor ranked ahead of Barkley. They are in the same tier, though, for me. And if you're looking at just the uniqueness, there will be more Puka Jonathan Taylor teams in this tournament than there will be Puka Barkley teams. Now, of course, if you don't understand what we're doing, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is my favorite place to draft. I draft here every single day and have done that for years. They're best ball drafts with no time commitment at all during the year. I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And yeah, if you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with code FLOCK, you'll get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide, plus a 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet, which I just updated for everybody, which I'm excited for y'all to check that out. We have it sorted by positions as well. And with code FLOCK, you'll get a Christian McCaffrey special pick-up more than less than half a total yard. You can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat. We're going to be drafting every single night. You do need to be in one of these states, though, if you want to get into an underdog draft. Now, Gooch says, 10-team happy BR. We have Kyler Olave, Nico, Derrick Henry, Ingram, Pickens, Najee, Brian Robinson, Hollywood, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas Jr., Shakir, Hawkinson on the IR, $20 team. What do you think? Any moves? Tight end worries me. So if we're looking at this, Hawkinson on the IR does give us the late season upside, and you have projectable volume with Evan Ingram right now. So I wouldn't be worried about tight end whatsoever. I think that it's a team that has a ridiculous amount of depth, especially in a format where you only have 10 teams. If you could potentially move on from Derrick Henry and package him with another running back like Najee Harris and go get somebody that's in a higher tier, instead go get someone like Jonathan Taylor, go get someone like Saquon Barkley. Obviously, if you get to Bijan, Brees, CMC, it's an absolute no-brainer, but I think that makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about tight end. I think it's a strong team. Nate Tano says 12-team, 2 receiver, 1 flex. If I get Lamb and miss on Dak, could get Caleb or Jaden. Would one of the rookies but Tua Goff be better than the 2 rooks? So if you once you get to the range of the draft in your regular redraft league, I would probably rather just wait till the end of the draft. Take 2 guys like Tua and Caleb Williams, Goff and Jaden Daniels, and then just play the matchups between those 2 guys if you don't get somebody that you're excited about at the very top. Okay, so Josh Allen off the board at pick 28. Now, Soft Napkin says, Sup Mason, picking at 3 in a 10-team half PPR. Is it a bad idea to slam wide receiver early in hopes of getting Walker Kamara at the 4-5 turn? Yes, it's a bad idea. Half PPR, and it's only a 10-team league. You're going to have phenomenal wide receivers at the 4-5 turn. I wouldn't really be excited to take Kamara there. I think you should go running back early. Shorty says, how would you rank Rashid Godwin, Amari, Ridley, Higgins in a full PPR? Is anyone in a tier of their own? Hope all is well. Appreciate you, brother. I don't think anybody's in a tier of their own right now. I think we're probably going to be looking at Higgins, Amari, Rice, Ridley, then Godwin. But I think they're all in a respectable range. Maybe Higgins and Rice are a tier above. But yeah, you have the Texans receivers here. They go at the 3-4 turn constantly. When we take Saquon Barkley there in round 2, we do put ourselves in a position where we're more likely than not wanting to at least grab one wide receiver here at the turn. It is worth noting that the team at pick 12, it looks like they potentially auto-drafted their first 2 picks. We'll go ahead. We will take Stephon Diggs at pick 35. I do want to just monitor. Right now, the highest-ranked players according to ADP are going to be Dell and Michael Pittman Jr. If they end up auto-drafting Dell and Michael Pittman Jr., that's a very important note for us later in this draft because it just gives us immediate insight onto exactly what every single one of their picks will be. So it'll be nice. But no, they go Pittman here. Dell was the guy that's higher in ADP, so it looks like they're not just on auto. The big ticket says, I'm 12th in a PPR, 2 receiver, 1 flex. Should we go 2 running backs back-to-back, then go with an elite tight end and quarterback? I think you can because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, but I don't necessarily think that you have to. Now, we are going to go ahead. We are going to take Tank Dell here at 38 to pair up with Stephon Diggs. Now, honestly, Sam Laporta is my most drafted guy in this range. Typically, I'm going Sam Laporta, but we are going to mix it up a bit. I think having Diggs and Dell is interesting. We can make one consolidated bet that maybe the Houston Texans passing offense is even better than people expect, or maybe you get a Nico Collins injury and both Diggs and Dell exceed expectations. So we'll go Diggs and Dell. We'll target CJ Stroud. Sadly, we probably won't get CJ Stroud making it to us at pick 83 if we want Stroud. We'll probably have to take him at 62 with the way that drafts have been trending. But anyway, Zachary says, rate the 10-team PPR where we have Hurts, Connor, Zamir, Hill, Harrison, Laporta, Debo, Swift, Rice, Corum, Charbonnet, Brown, Dowdle, Hawkinson. As long as Hawkinson could go to the IR, we're rostering Blake Corum, Zach Charbonnet, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, all in the bottom end of that team. I think it's a phenomenal strategy when we have the elite quarterback, we have the elite tight end, we have the wide receivers at the very top. I think it's a great team that maybe just struggles a little bit at the beginning of the season because you are looking at, I don't know, a running back room that is uncertain, but I think we have the upside there for things to get exciting. Now, Hartnell says, Mason, give me one NFL season-long play. I'll tell it. Okay, I got you, my guy. So just in case you don't know, Underdog does have pick'ems where you can go higher or lower on certain player projections through the course of the season. So y'all know I'm terrified of taking Christian McCaffrey at pick 1. I think you have to do it just because the upside that he has. But to go ahead and to look at his current projection for a 28-year-old running back dealing with a calf strain that's coming off a season with 400 total touches, I think that there is some downside risk in McCaffrey to see an efficiency drop, or honestly, more importantly, to potentially miss a little time here. So I'm still taking CMC at 1 overall, but when he's currently being projected on Underdog to almost have 1,700 total yards and 17 total touchdowns, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to go ahead and pick your favorite CMC projection to go on the lower side with. And if I'm going to go with any season-long pick'ems, if I'm going to be taking those, I always look for the lower. Because what typically happens is you see a player and go, oh, of course Terry McLaurin's going to get 1,000 receiving yards. You go ahead and take it and don't understand the downside risk of Terry McLaurin missing just 2 to 3 games, and all of a sudden what that can do to his expected outlook with those projections. Now, the name I can never pronounce, but's been out here with us for years, says, am I wrong for going Chase at pick 3? I think so. I think you have to take Lamb, Tyreek. I mean, Chase has never had, I believe, 90 receiving yards per game in a season, where Tyreek's had 2 straight years with over 100 receiving yards per game. Lamb last year was over 100 receiving yards per game and has absolutely no competition in his offense. Okay, so let's move this over. And my guy, if you use code FLOCK on Underdog, Hartnell, it doesn't matter if you actually use code FLOCK like a year ago even. You should have this Christian McCaffrey special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. Underdog hooked everybody up with that as a big-time giveaway with us signing the 3-year deal with Underdog. So, yeah, if you use code FLOCK, look in your pick'em lobby, and you should be able to see that there, my guy. Now, Calvin Ridley off the board at pick 55. So we have kind of caught back up a little bit with the receiver going Diggs and Dell. Keenan Allen has been a faller just based around the reports coming out regarding his weight. Keenan Allen does go off the board here at pick 57, though. So we do need to figure out if we should go ahead and if we should reach on CJ Stroud at the beginning of the 6th round to pair up with Diggs and Dell. One thing that I think we want to keep an eye on is, did the Nico Collins team take an elite level quarterback? The Nico Collins team there at 18 did not. So even if they were to pass on Stroud at 66, they would more likely than not take Stroud at 79 when he has an ADP of 70. So I don't think that we can risk CJ Stroud coming back around to us. So what we're going to do instead is we'll make the very boring decision to go with Chris Godwin here. Make sure that we still put ourselves in a spot that we have flexibility in round 7 and 8, where typically we want to be going running back in these Underdog drafts. And then I think here at pick 62, we're probably going to go ahead and take CJ Stroud. We'll see. Anthony Richardson goes 60. That's the team that drafted Michael Pittman Jr. They can also go Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is very interesting, but we'll go ahead. We will take CJ Stroud. It's a $25 buy-in, right? $1.5 million for first. So if we are going to win this year, pretty much everything has to go right for us. And we took Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs in rounds 3 and 4. So CJ Stroud needs to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL in terms of overall passing yards and passing touchdowns if we want to have any shot to win serious money here. Okay. Oscar says, I'm finally using my CMC bonus to sign up a year ago. Love to hear it, my guy. Yeah, definitely take advantage of that. And I know, like, I always do the little ad, the little shout out saying, oh, if you sign up with Underdog right now, you'll get the Christian McCaffrey special pickup more than less than half a total yard. But even if you signed up with code FLOCK like 3 years ago, as long as you use code FLOCK, it's a FLOCK exclusive, you should have that Christian McCaffrey special. Okay. LS says, any chance you're going to run another draft, my guy? Yes. If we hit 300 likes on this stream, we will fire up another draft. We will fire up a big eliminator, which is a $100 buy-in after this one. Red says, I'm an idiot. How do I get the draft guide? Appreciate you, my guy. So if you signed up to Underdog in 2024, the email address you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with should have received an email either at sign up from Underdog, including the PDF of the draft guide, or if you signed up, say, weeks ago, you should have received multiple emails at this point from mason.flockfantasy.com. One comes out every Sunday. I think this past one was Monday morning. But essentially every Sunday, you should expect an email with the updated draft guide with all the news of the week and everything. So, yes. Or if you're a member of flockfantasy.com, just go to the post page and scroll down a bit and look at Flock Draft Guide posted by Mason Dodd. And you can see it there as well. I don't know how you, I don't know which offer you took advantage of to go get it. But thank you, everybody, for coming out to us. And this is a fine Friday night. We got the girlfriend bringing me some pad thai tonight, which will be nice. Now, this is, of course, not the antenna girlfriend. Not the girlfriend standing on the roof holding up the big antenna so we can stream. But this is the DoorDash girlfriend. Okay. Let's move this. Christian Watson off the board at pick 71. So Brian Thomas goes a little bit earlier than where he has been. Brian Thomas has been falling to the middle of the 7th round, which I've definitely been scooping him up at that discount. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Thomas is the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. I think he probably has a higher ceiling, obviously a lower floor, but a higher ceiling than Christian Kirk. Kyler off the board, 74. So that's Kadarius Toney. That team at 2 is actually in this live draft. In this live stream with us. The team at 4 is in this live stream with us as well. But the team at 2, that's called One Pride. His name in the chat is Kadarius Toney. And he goes Lamb, Neighbors, Kyron, McBride, Kirk, Christian Watson, and then gets the Kyler stack with McBride. Okay, Chris says, would you rather draft 6, 7, or 8 in a 12-team half PPR format? I'm going to be fine with any of them. If it's a regular redraft league, I would prefer Brees or Bijan over the receivers there. So I'd probably take 6 because in your regular redraft league, I think there's a shot one of the running backs makes it to you at 6. But at 7 or 8, a little unlikely. Now, of course, in Underdog, those running backs are going to make it there all the time. But in your regular redraft league, that is. Marvin Mom says, who's more likely to be in the $1.5 million lineup, Zamir White or Jonathan Brooks? I have a lot of Brooks, kind of hoping it is Jonathan Brooks. I think there will be a lot more teams that are in the week 15 slate with Zamir White than there are Brooks, but I don't know. I think Brooks is the receiving upside. They're both in bad offenses, but Jonathan Brooks is a great receiver at Texas. Jonathan, thank you for stopping by, my friend. Max says, should I trade Kyler Murray and Dalton Schultz for Dak and Kittle? Half PPR, I have Lamb, wide receiver 1, not very confident in Schultz this year. Schultz to Kittle, upgrade. Kyler to Dak, downgrade. I think it's a fair deal. I think you can go ahead and make that trade if you want, my guy. Okay, so Calvin Kamara has been a faller. I didn't see what happened with James Conner. So James Conner says top running back in the depth chart. He here goes at 81. Now, we only have Saquon Barkley. So, we are in a range where we could afford to go ahead and take a running back here. There'll be a couple different guys that I'm fine with getting at 83. Okay, let's see what Vince Rex decides to do. Looks like a team that stayed very much in line, just kind of taking guys at ADP. So I would expect them to go with Kamara. I'm personally hoping to get the Kamara value, but let's see. Yeah, they go ahead and they take Kamara. That team may be on auto draft. I'm unsure. But at this price point, I don't necessarily know exactly who we want to go with. We'll just balance it out. We'll go Ramondre Stevenson here at 14. My issue with Ramondre is if Gibson has a receiving role and the New England Patriots, according to Vegas Sportsbooks, project to be the worst offense in the NFL this season, it is a little scary. Drew says Kamara's hurt. Yeah. Kamara, when's the last time he was practicing, though? Unknown source file says, use code FLOCK. Where do I get the ADP rankings and cheat sheet? I didn't see it in the PDF. So check the email. There should be a link to a Google sheet. It's all in the Google sheet, my friend. I want to go ahead and take Jordan Addison here. I don't know how bad that would truly be. Let's look at the players that'll be back around to us at 107. 107, we're going to have like Shaheed, Lockett, Wicks. Whereas at running back, we have like Javonte and some other guys. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Jordan Addison. I'm not a big Najee Harris guy. I've already buried my grave with Jordan Addison this year. Might as well lay down in it. If Addison is a bum, I'm going to have to deal with the embarrassment regardless. So let's go for it. Okay. But yeah, just look for it should be in the email, my guy. It's a link to a Google sheet for the draft guide. I'm sorry, not for the draft guide. The draft guide's a PDF file. It's actually 2 separate PDF files, depending on where you get it from, just because it's so large. But the draft cheat sheet is a Google sheet in terms of all the ADPs. And the new update that you're about to get with it is actually going to be a lot better, where it's going to go through and you're able to sort by positions, etc. So it should be really useful. I could almost do research with the draft guide, but if you're going to your draft and you just need something really simple to use, I'd probably just use the ADP consensus cheat sheet. Okay. Stacy says, hey, Mason, did you know that it's a contract year for Najee? Yeah, they didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Now, personally, I'm not a big believer in like the idea of, oh, it's a contract year for this player. He's going to try extra hard and he's going to be extra good. My personal opinion is all these guys are trying pretty close to their best at all times. I'm not a big guy for the narratives of, oh, this player cares extra for this game. This player is going to try extra hard. Usually he's only going at 75%. Now that he has this outside force, he's going to be going at 100%. That's not something I really buy into. Red says, I signed up this year on Underdog with code FLOCK, but haven't seen any emails with you. 1, did you deposit $10? Minimum $10. And 2, when did you, my guy? When did you deposit $10 and did you do it? Because I haven't heard a single person reaching out to me saying that they didn't get anything. Teresa says, look in your spam folder. That's 100% a possibility. Definitely check your spam. Okay. Jordan Love off the board at 98. Bowers goes 97. Chase Brown goes 99. So once we take Jordan Addison, a big reason we do so is we're kind of hoping that we get some running backs making it to us at 107, right? So we'll see. Aiden says, have you ever done a drunk draft? So I don't think it, a couple different things. One, I'm sober now. I haven't had a drink since like last April or so. So a little over a year. And 2, even when I would drink, I don't think I ever did on the live stream outside of 2 birthday streams that I did. And there we were just talking, answering questions. I wasn't actually drafting, so I don't think I've ever had a drunk draft. Please let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever drank outside of like a birthday stream on a live stream. Cheese says, our Best Ball Mania is half PPR. Yes, every Underdog draft is a half PPR draft. Hardnell says, Mason, you got to do some puppy threes off stream. People do crazy things. I am just having a very hard time finding time, to be honest with you. Caboose says, alcohol is bad for you, good for you not drinking. Yeah, it's just when I stream every single day and I'm training for a 50-mile ultra marathon, so I've been running like 10 miles every morning, it'd be like impossible. I already don't sleep enough, and if I were to drink, my recovery wouldn't allow me to run 10 miles a day. Like, it wouldn't be possible. So we're going to go ahead. We will take Brian Robinson at 107. We were kind of assuming that in this range, running back is what we are going to prefer over some of the receivers. To be honest with you, I would have rather had Zach Moss over Brian Robinson just because it's a much better offense. And I think Moss does have the upside to catch the ball where Brian Robinson doesn't necessarily, because I think that's clearly Eckler's role here. Dontavian Wicks goes 108, Jerome Ford off 109. So Caleb Williams isn't in play for us at 110. We could go Joshua Palmer. My thing with Joshua Palmer is a Big Q is going to be available later. Big Q probably is 10 times better of a receiver than Palmer is, but we'll take Palmer. We'll take Palmer to please the crowd. But, Red, yeah, shoot me an email if you're having any more issues. My email is mason.flockfantasy.com. And for the love of God, do not send me, and this is going to other people, do not send me emails asking for fantasy football advice. I'm going to tell you right now, what happens to that is a little trash can gets hit immediately. Okay. But Platinum Pete says, Sup Mason, do you think Ramadre is a 2022 repeat? I think with Ramadre, and keep in mind, I draft him here. It's at 83. It's a very cheap cost. But I think with Ramadre, what you need is you need the Patriots to be better than a bottom 5 offense in the NFL. If Drake May doesn't come in and Drake May doesn't elevate the overall offense, it may be a spot where Ramadre is just in an environment that the only way he could get there is if he had like a crazy Alvin Kamara target share from last year. And with the addition of Gibson, it probably doesn't look likely. So I think taking Ramadre, you need the Patriots to be better than what people are expecting. Serge says, can you tell my buddy Mark to get back to work? Mark, you got to get to work, my guy. Come on. And do you think Brees is a smash pick at 3 in a full PPR format? I think the receivers with Tyreek and Lamb, they have such a high floor and ceiling combo that in a full PPR format, probably not. I think you probably have to go with Lamb or Tyreek in a full PPR league over Brees. Brees is ranked as my 4th player there. I just don't necessarily think I can do him at 3. But Therese says 300 likes. Hell yes. We will fire up another draft after this. We're probably going to get in the big eliminator. And I'll probably enter that in. I'll probably enter into it in soon. Don't enter in right now. I'll tell you that much. But I'll let you know. I'm going to enter on my phone. That way we don't have to wait for it to fill too long because it's a $100 buy-in. May take a little bit of time to fill. But in a few rounds, I'll enter into that draft. Okay. Aiden says, I heard whispers a big Q. My conscience brought me here. I'm in an underdog slow draft. Well, at least I was. And I was on the clock at pick, like the 8th pick of the 18th round. And Big Q was sitting there staring at me. I was like, oh my gosh. Is this what we've come to? I've been sitting here drafting Big Q in round 15. Now all of a sudden he's around 18 pick. I do want to reiterate, all jokes aside, I have 14% Quentin Johnston. It's not like we're all in. But, and his ADP is wide receiver 79. But it did hurt a little bit to see Big Q falling down to round 18. Because if he's around 18 pick, I'll tell you, our 14% Johnston will be going up. Okay. Gibb Morris is trying to do a super chat, pay for the brilliance, but it's not working for some reason. All good, my guy. I'm sorry. Yes, Judd says 15% after tonight. My guy, we're going to get in 2 drafts tonight. We'll bump this up to 16%. We already took a Mr. Joshua Palmer. We are going to go Justin Herbert in a couple rounds, presumably. And then Big Q can come on down. So Brock Purdy, the guy falling. We don't have any Niners, of course. I do really like Purdy at this price point. Purdy goes 126. That's a team that had Kittle. So makes a ton of sense for them to go Kittle here. Okay. Prince says no McCarthy is the right amount. McCarthy. Let me see how much McCarthy I had. Because I didn't mind McCarthy at all in round 18. I have 5% JJ McCarthy, which is kind of no bueno. Don't know if y'all have heard, but JJ McCarthy turns out he wasn't a good pick this year. Just let you know. In case you've been living under a rock. Okay. Gabe Davis goes 129. Benson has been falling. I'll scoop up all the Trey Benson and Best Ball Mania where we're trying to optimize for the final 3 weeks. But with ADP values, I think we probably go ahead and take Jacoby Myers here at pick 131. But that does put us in a spot where we're more likely than not actually not going to be taking any more receivers. So sadly, BQ may not be an option for us here. Let's see. What is this team going to do after? I was hoping that they were going to give us Benson. Now, I am not a fan of going like Dalton Schultz for the 4th Houston Texan on this team. I think if you're looking for the highest ceiling possible in the final 3 weeks, you really can't just go through and take 4 or 5 guys on the same offense. So we will pass on Schultz, even though I think tight end would be really nice for us with this build. But we'll go ahead and take Charbonnet. And dear God, Vinny in this draft with us at 4 coming out says, can't make the meetup, but here's some extra cash to buy John and Bill Belichick a ticket. Thanks for all you do, Mason. My guy, thank you for hanging out with me every single night in these streams. And yeah, Bill actually already bought his ticket. I don't know if I've given you an update on this, but so I told you all, obviously Bill Belichick signed with Underdog, yada, yada, yada. Underdog begged me to put him on a live stream. And Bill's just not in draft shape for me. So I have him living in the west wing of my house at the moment. I hired a draft trainer for him. We've been putting him through the rounds. Once he gets his red badge, I'll let him come in. He probably is not going to talk. He's more so going to be shadowing me like I shadowed surgeons back in the day, and you just stand behind him and not do anything, look like you're paying attention. That's probably what he'll do. So starting probably next week, to be honest, get ready to just watch Bill Belichick sit back and apprentice me. But one of these days, he should be ready for a draft with us. One of these days. Okay. But nobody says, what is the difference in strategies between a 10-team and a 12-team format? Do you move up wide receivers or running backs? I would prefer running backs in a 10-team league in comparison to a 12-teamer. The main difference is just depth in general doesn't matter as much. And if you can make 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals to get improvements in your starting lineup, that's what's going to matter more. So there are going to be great options on the waiver wire. Okay. Austin says, Mason, has anyone told you that you look identical to Chad Ochocinco? Nobody's told me this directly, but I was at the grocery store last week, and I did hear people going, Chad, Ocho. Maybe they thought I was him. Maybe that was you, my guy. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Mooney, A.D. Mitchell, Mike Williams, Josh Downs, all off the board here at the end of the 12th. So once we take Myers there at pick 131, I think we are in a good spot to assume that we're not taking any more wide receivers. So hopefully we see more of these guys go. What we really need is tight ends. I didn't want to mention this, but full transparency here. The team at 6 is a freaking lunatic. Took Mark Andrews, George Kittle, David Njoku all in the same squad. So I am in a spot that it's going to be very difficult to get tight end when this team took 3 very good options. They'll be pushed up the board just a bit, which is why I considered possibly going Schultz over Charbonnet. And if I didn't have both Dell and Stroud, I would have for sure gone Schultz. I think it would have been the pick there based off this board context. but it's tough. Okay. Musgrave 147, Dobbins 148. Let's move this over. Herbert making it to us, Stafford making it to us. Both guys would make sense. We have Joshua Palmer and we have Puka Nacua. So I would be fine with either quarterback there at 155. The main question is, if we go with one of these quarterbacks at 155, are we only drafting 2 QBs at that point, or are we going through and are we drafting 3? As we take CJ Stroud at pick 62. If we would have got CJ Stroud at like pick 83, I'd have been very comfortable taking 3 quarterbacks. But when we take Stroud at the 5-6 turn, it does get a little bit tougher. Okay. Demario Douglas goes 150. Good for us to see these guys go. So just checking to see if any of these teams took Ladd McConkey, because if they did, we're in trouble. None of the teams in front of us took any Chargers. Did they take Kupp? No, we should at least get Herbert or Stafford. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Matthew Stafford here at 155. Pair him up with Puka Nacua. I would have preferred Justin Herbert over Stafford, but we're fine regardless. We're fine. And then we'll be looking at probably neither Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers. If we were going to go with the third quarterback, we can't take one till the very end of this draft. So it'd have to be Chuba Hubbard, Marshawn Lloyd, or Hunter Henry at 158. Let's see. What does this team do in front of us? They go Wandale and Cade Otton. So we're going to take Chuba Hubbard at pick 158. Now that we have Charbonnet, Hubbard, Brian Robinson, Ramondre, and Saquon Barkley, we are probably going to be done drafting running back here. So right now, quarterback, we have Diggs double stacked with, we have Stroud double stacked with Diggs, Dell. We have Stafford stacked with Puka. Wide receiver, we have Puka, Diggs, Dell, Godwin, Addison, Palmer, Myers. Running back, we have Barkley, Ramondre, Brian Robinson, Charbonnet, and Chuba Hubbard. And we have 0 tight ends, so we're going to have to take 3. Okay. So Rodgers goes 155, Marshawn Lloyd 160, Bucky Irving 161. And I'm actually going to enter in the $100 draft right now on my phone. I'll count it down for everybody if you're wanting to get in. And once that fills, we'll bounce from this one to that one. So it's the big eliminator. What we are entering, 1, 2, 3, we are in. And there are 4 spots open. If anybody wants to draft with us, I will let you know when that fills, and we'll switch over to that draft when it does. 2 spots open. It just filled. So if you wanted to get in our draft, don't enter. And in that draft, we have pick 11. Hell, so we got some practice for it. Now, we'll explain the big eliminator a little bit more when we are actually drafting in it. I'm going to wait till that one starts to switch it. Yeah, we'll explain how the eliminator works in just 1 second. Okay, so Bateman, Adam Thielen, both off the board. Ray Davis goes 168. Luke, in with us in the Eliminator 10. Hell yeah, my guy. Let's go. Greg Dortch 169. Khalil Herbert 170. Okay, I think we are going to pivot over. And I'm going to get in the big Eliminator draft. Okay. We are in. Pick 11. Tyreek off the board, 101. Now, let me explain the Eliminator real quick. So, y'all know the typical Underdog draft, Best Ball Mania. There it is a league where it's a regular season, weeks 1 through 14. Then the top 2 teams in the regular season advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. You essentially get put into new leagues where in week 15, you're going up against your league mates and the best team advances to week 16. Same thing happens in week 16 to week 17. And then there's a large tournament with the leftover teams in week 17 to figure out who wins the tournament, who gets 1.5 million, et cetera, et cetera. This is a league where it's very different. Every week, the worst teams in your league, which is be 1 to 2, depending on the week, will get eliminated from the tournament altogether. So your job isn't to try to have the highest ceiling possible in weeks 15, 16, 17. Your job is to just never have the worst team. And it will have some interesting implications. We're going to go Sam Darnold at the 15-16 turn in the other draft, pair him up with Addison. Darnold wasn't drafted too often in Best Ball Mania, so I think it is a somewhat unique pick. And we're going to go ahead. We will take Puka Nacua with our first selection here, just like we did in the other draft. Puka does have the week 6 bye. Bye weeks will actually be something that you do kind of have to pay attention to here. Okay. Now, unknown source file says, hey, Mason, double flex, half PPR. What should we prioritize, essentially? My guy, that's like the definition of a balanced format. I think you go best player available. It's not as easy to just say, oh, let's exploit it. Let's go and get an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, and devalue wide receiver. It's a very balanced league. So looking at what we're going to do here, trying to find a bye week that's not going to be too popular. The issue with Gibbs is if Gibbs is dealing with a hamstring, Puka's dealing with his knee at the beginning of the season. If these, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to take Gibbs. It's probably a very bad pick. In these drafts, chasing the guys with high ceilings at the end of the year that are dealing with injuries, it's not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. But your boy's dumb. And for whatever reason, he has a hard time taking Saquon Barkley over Jahmyr Gibbs, even if he should. Now, Underdog also has other Eliminator tournaments that are not $100 if y'all are interested in this format, of course. And yeah, they had a massive Eliminator tournament that had $1 million prize pool with the $10 buy-in earlier this offseason. But like I said, of course, if you want to get in an Underdog draft with us, there's so many different tournament and so many different structures that you can choose from. But they're all best balls, so none of them have any time commitment during the year. That's how I draft hundreds of them. That's how I won 150,000 2 years ago on Underdog. And of course, if you want to get in one of those drafts with us, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you are going to get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide, 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet, plus a 50% deposit bonus up to $250, plus a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for week 1 against the Jets. So make sure you take advantage. Okay. Weirdo says, how did pick 9 get Brees? That's my dream. In Underdog drafts earlier this offseason, Brees used to go at pick 9 quite often. It's definitely less often now than it was a month or two ago. So here what you need to have is the weird picks. Garrett Wilson goes at 8. What's in my mind, it actually is pretty weird as well, because you can make an argument, oh, maybe Brees is devalued a little bit in this format because it's a league that you have to worry about bye weeks. Brees has a common week 12 bye, but that's the same bye week Garrett Wilson has. So that argument doesn't really make sense. Okay. Metcalf off the board at 25. Ayuk goes 26. So that team at 2 does go running back out the gate with CMC, Achane, Brandon Ayuk. Kyron goes to the team at 4. And one thing is, like I said, because in this tournament, points at the beginning of the season pretty much matter just as much as points at the end of the year. Rookies are not going to be getting the same type of premium that they would in a regular underdog draft, because regularly points at weeks 15, 16, 17 are worth dramatically more than points at weeks 1, 2, 3. But that's not the case here, so you're not going to be giving the rookies the bump. You're not going to be giving the injured guys like TJ Hawkinson, Nick Chubb the bump. Due to Las Vegas' pros and cons for stacking Henry and Mark Andrews. So Henry and Mark Andrews aren't really going to be too correlated, but in general, the pros and cons of stacking is it correlates your team. So when you hit on one guy, you're more likely to hit on the other. When you whiff on one guy, you're more likely to whiff on the other as well. So it expands the range of outcomes for you, where essentially you can think of it, you're a little more likely to get first, but also a little more likely to get 12th and a little less likely to get 6th, if that makes sense. So looking at this, the issue, you're going to see a lot of these wide receivers here fall because they have the week 14 bye. Diggs does go pick 31. We have a balanced start with Gibbs and Puka. We go Jonnu Smith in round 17 as our second tight ends. Another draft, that is. Michael Pittman goes 34. We could go Dell and then reach on someone at pick 38, which is I think what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Tank Dell at 35. We took Dell at 38 in the last draft. Caesar says, Mason, have you tried any of the college football drafts? So yeah, if y'all don't know, Underdog has college football drafts as well. And there is nothing that would be more embarrassing than me trying to draft one of those college football in one of those college football tournaments. I would get freaking smoked. I would be 2 rounds in, and by the time we got to round 3, I would have zero clue on who to draft. So yeah, I can't do that, my friend. I would straight up embarrass myself. We're going to go with Amari. We're taking Amari over Flowers for sure. Amari does have a little more of a unique buy with the week 10. And this does put us in a spot where we can take some decent values late that I like at quarterback. The issue with going Josh Allen here, where I typically go Allen all the time here in a regular Best Ball Mania draft, is with the Eliminator, I'm a little more likely to want to draft 3 tight ends and 3 quarterbacks. So I'm a little less likely to want to get the elite level QB like Josh Allen. Okay. So after we take Amari, Jalen Hurts off the board at 39. Kadarius Toney says, I really just sniped him with the round 18. Did I take Tucker Kraft in round 18? I queued up some tight ends. I'm assuming I went Tucker Kraft, right? Yeah, I went Kraft, 206. I like Tucker Kraft as like a unique-ish pick in round 18. Now, Mira says, already know I'm winning, but what can I do to make my best team in an 8-team league? We have CMC Hall, so we have the running back 1, running back 2. We have Lamb Jamar, so we have the wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 3. We have Kelsey, the tight end 1 or 2. We have Garrett. I have no idea. I would say you're so loaded with depth down at the bottom that I would love to go and trade Tank Dell and Joe Burrow to see if we can get a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, just because you can afford it. Andrew says, do you dress professionally on purpose for the videos and streams? No, this is what I wear daily, my guy. This is what I wear to the grocery store. This is what I wear to the gym. This is what I wear on my runs. It's just my daily outfit. Okay. Now, ETN makes it down to 44. You have Josh Allen making it down to 42 in this draft. Okay. McBride off the board at 56. I'm sorry, 46. I'm interested to see what that team at 2 does with only Ayuk through the first 4 rounds. Not saying it's bad. I think that's probably one of the more interesting teams to be watching. The team at 1 actually goes McBride and Mark Andrews. Which, if you think that they outscore the wide receivers in this range, I don't think you can blame anybody for it. Okay. Let's move this down. So, oh my gosh, they went ahead of Kelsey? Can someone let me know, did Kelsey news come out? Kelsey falls to 51 in this draft. Can someone please let me know, did something happen with Kelsey? Andrew says, quarterbacks Purdy, running backs Saquon, White, Walker, Warren, Dobbins, receiver Wilson, Olave, Rice, Watson, Palmer, tight end Pitts. Thoughts on trading a wide receiver in Saquon or Purdy for a top-tier wide receiver or quarterback? Who should we trade away and who should we target? So if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I would say that quarterback's going to make up a very high percentage of our lineup. So if you wanted to go through it, if you wanted to try to trade away, say, like Christian Watson and Brock Purdy to get up to one of the top 5 QBs, I'd like that. But no, I'd be holding on to Barkley with that team, my guy. Okay. Okay. Taylor got Kelsey pregnant. Maybe. Godwin off the board to pick 57. So, like I said, I think rookies are going to be a little bit depressed here in this style league. We can go ahead. We can take James Cook. Week 12 is a common bye, but we don't have a Week 12 bye yet. This team after us has 0 running backs, so I think if we were to toss them James Cook, you could expect them to potentially go in that direction. So if we were wanting Cook, probably have to take him here at 59. Worthy goes at 60, which is very interesting to see this team go with 2 rookie receivers at cost, not getting a discount on them. Which, Best Ball Mania, I'm completely fine doing. This is just a different tournament, of course. And then George Kittle at 61. I think they paired up Kittle with Laporta. So we're going to take Anthony Richardson. In this style league, I actually don't care about getting stacks. I would almost actively avoid stacks when it's a one-on-one final at the end. Because stacks, it's going to correlate your team. When you have a great week, it's going to be a phenomenal week. When you have a garbage week, it's going to be a really bad week. And here, we never need to have phenomenal weeks with this tournament. We just can't have the really bad weeks. So I'm completely okay going ahead, taking Anthony Richardson at pick 62. It is our second week 14 bye, which will be something that we have to continue to monitor, but I think we're fine for now. Okay. Koala says, why is Cook higher than Rachaad White? I think it's an interesting thing to look at those 2 running backs because if you're projecting out volume, I think it's very safe to say that Rachaad White will have a higher percentage of his overall rushing attempts in his offense than what you were going to have with James Cook in his. And at the same time, Rachaad White should see more target volume. Now, the issue with that is Rachaad White is in a much worse offense. The Buffalo Bills will have extended drives. The Buffalo Bills will have trips to the red zone at a much higher clip than what you're going to get in Tampa. Okay. Patrick says, should I draft in my regular redraft league with Underdog ADPs or go by my league's ADPs? My guy, if you have access to the 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet that we have, I would for sure use that. If you don't, what I would be using is I would be using Underdog positional ADPs. Don't look at the overall Underdog ADPs because on Underdog in general, wide receivers are going to be way too expensive. Running backs are going to be way devalued compared to your regular redraft league. Like I would say in your regular redraft league, there's no reason in a million years you would take Tank Dell at 35 or Amari Cooper at 38. Those are just strictly Underdog picks because of the Underdog overall ADP. So I would say Underdog positional ADP, like if you'd go, oh, I want a wide receiver. Who's the best wide receiver available? I think that would be useful for your regular league. but not the overall. Avi says rank Debo, Harrison, Evans, Olave. I think we're going to go Harrison, Debo, Olave up to you. Debo, if I use Delt for sure. And then Evans last, my guy. Sirius says, since I have the depth, I did receive Allen, Kenneth Walker, give Kyron Burrow. What do you think? 100% do that. As an 18 league, if y'all didn't see, Mira, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. It has by far and away the best team we've ever seen. So yeah, just overpay and go get Josh Allen. It makes sense. Okay, so let's move this around. There are a couple teams in this league that are really leaning into the zero RB builds. You have the team at 12 with Harrison, Debo, Higgins, Worthy, Laporta, and Kittle. You have the team at 1 that is sitting with Kyler, Tyreek, Evans, DK, Ladd, McBride, Andrews, which looks like they would be very interesting starts in specific underdog tournaments. Just this one is one that I potentially question that in. So one thing that's nice about the Steelers, guys, is a week 9 is not a bye that most players have. Henny Luke goes Aaron Jones. So like I said, I'm not a big Najee Harris guy, but the team after us has 0 running backs. The week 9 bye is one that we're typically wanting to target in this format. So we'll go ahead and we'll take Najee. Now, Sherney says, is it dumb to have Brian Thomas Jr. over Christian Kirk given the recent news? Is this regarding the Kirk injury? Like I said earlier in the stream, I think Brian Thomas Jr. has a much higher ceiling than Christian Kirk. I have drafted way more Thomas at his cost than Christian Kirk at his this year. Christian Kirk has been one of the worst picks in underdog drafts, that is. He's going to round 4. Okay. But I wouldn't rank them ahead of each other because I think Kirk has a much higher. I think we're going to reach on Swift. Yeah, we're going to reach on Swift. I wouldn't do this in Best Ball Mania. I think it would be a very bad pick. But giving us that baseline projectable volume in a league where we just don't want to be the worst team. And at the same time, week 7 bye, something we don't have to worry about with the rest of the squad. I think we're going to go for it. Yeah, but I wouldn't rank Thomas ahead of Kirk. But I would for sure take Thomas at his ADP compared to Kirk at his. I think Thomas has a higher ceiling. Simon says, I'm soccer nut. How's the team? Be honest. I'll try my best, my guy. Pick 2. CMC, HN, Ayuk, Lamar, Ridley. I would have, yeah, the issue is I don't like the Evan Ingram pick. I think the Evan Ingram pick needed to be a wide receiver. When you only have Brandon Ayuk through the first 4 rounds, I think you're like have to go wide receiver at the 6-7 turn there. But really the thing is when you take CMC in round 1, going with HN there in round 2 puts you in such a tough spot to take advantage of values later where you kind of are forced to take some of these receivers. You were forced in this draft, for instance, to go Calvin Ridley over Travis Kelce, right? So I think passing on HN in favor of a wide receiver, whether that's Evans, Ayuk, Smith, whoever it may be, going CMC, wide receiver, and then being able to get Kelce at 50, I think that's a better spot, and you just put yourself in a tough situation when you go with the running back after CMC, specifically in an underdog draft, right? Okay. JB says he has 46% Brian Thomas Jr. Let me go ahead and let me see how much. I'll tell you all the Jacksonville guys I have. I have 11% Thomas, 10% Davis, 8% Bigsby, 7% ETN, 7% Ingram, 5% Lawrence, and only 3% Christian Kirk. So I'm a little overweight Brian Thomas, a little overweight Gabe Davis, and very much underweight Christian Kirk. Okay. Let's move this over. I just pulled up my email. We got another person coming to the Flock meetup. Hell yes. I need to look at how many tickets we can still give out to the Flock meetup. Like I said, the only reason we're even selling tickets to the meetup is specifically because there are only so many, there's so much capacity with the brewery we're going to. So let me see how many have we given away. 195 divided by 15. 13. Okay, there's still like 20 or 30 people that can come to the meetup. Cool. But shout out to, if he's in this live stream, shout out to Kevin coming to the Flock meetup. Looking forward to it, my guy. But once we go Swift, we do put ourselves in a spot where at wide receiver, we only have Puka, Dell, Amari. We're for sure hoping that we get a wide receiver that we like making it to us. Now, Jonathan Brooks will be a running back that's worth a little bit less in this format because you are expecting his production to primarily come in the final 3 weeks. Whereas here, that isn't as appealing, of course. And real quick, of course, if y'all don't know, we are having a Flock meetup in 6 days. Austin, Texas, August 22nd. If you're in Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, of course, you better be coming to the meetup. 6:30, Holdout Brewery, Austin, Texas. You can grab a ticket at flockfantasy.store. They're only $15. We're giving away free merch, half price beer, right? So, I mean, I'm losing money on it. We just have to know how many people are allowed to come. And also, what was the other thing? Yeah, if you were coming from out of town and you were going to get a hotel or something, like I said, I just need to know how many people are coming so you don't have to buy a ticket. Just email me, mason.@flockfantasy.com, some kind of like hotel confirmation that you have. And then however many tickets you want, they'll be free for you. And I can go ahead. I can put them to the side. Frederick says, when's the last day to buy tickets? That's why I just checked how many we had left. The last day to buy tickets would be probably the day of the event if there are any left. Right now, there are like probably 20 left. I need to look at my list of how many we've reserved. And so it just depends on how fast they're going to end up going. We're going to take Joshua Palmer. I mean, I'd rather have Brock Bowers over Palmer, but the team after us drafted Sam Laporta and George Kittle. So I think we take Joshua Palmer here, 107, with the expectation that Bowers is going to make it to us at 110. Bowers in this format will be a little bit less valuable, right? Because this is someone that we're expecting to hopefully have a really strong season in the second half of the year. And at the beginning of the year, he may start off a little slow. But the usage that he had in Las Vegas for the preseason looked really encouraging. So we'll go ahead and we'll take him as our tight end 1 at pick 110. Okay. Let's move this over. And yeah, now we have Puka, Dell, Amari, Joshua Palmer at wide receiver. Running back, we have Gibbs, James Cook, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift. Quarterback, we have Anthony Richardson. Tight end, we have Brock Bowers. And I want to remind y'all, this is not a typical underdog tournament. This is the big eliminator. So draft strategy is completely different. We are not trying to optimize for the highest ceiling possible in the final 3 weeks. We are not trying to chase correlation and stacks. We're almost trying to do the opposite and just put ourselves in a position where we're getting a considerable floor with our roster from a week-to-week perspective. Aiden says, when are you going to update Flock rankings? I think they were updated like 3 or 4 days ago, my guy. I'll go ahead and I'll probably update them again tomorrow night after all the preseason games. Brody says, 2 quarterback, double flex, traded the 103 for the 111, 201. Oh, yes, perfect. Great move, my guy. What 2 quarterbacks would you pair together? 5-point passing touchdown, 6-point rushing touchdown. I mean, really just, I don't want to sit here and try to guess exactly what quarterbacks are going to be there. But if you're wanting to know how I rank quarterbacks this year, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud. If you can get any of those 6-ish quarterbacks there at the 1-2 turn, or maybe you can throw Kyler Murray, depending on how the rest of your league mates are. I'd probably look at Kyler in the late second, to be honest. But if you can grab 2 of those QBs at the 1-2 turn, I'd love that. Koala says, Brock Bowers is high-risk Sam Laporta. I very much disagree with that. As someone who's drafted a ton of Sam Laporta this year, and the main reason I disagree with it is if you look at current sportsbook projections, they're currently projecting the Detroit Lions to be the 2nd highest scoring offense in the NFL. And they are projecting the Las Vegas Raiders to be the 6th worst offense in the NFL. So I think that there'll be more trips to the red zone. I think that there'll be more touchdown opportunities for Laporta in general than there will be for Bowers. Okay. Hardnell says, all these noobs reaching on unstacked Burrow and Stroud. It's that season again. My guy in this tournament, where it's like a one-person final. I mean, it's a 1v1 final, and it's an eliminator style contest. having them unstacked is not that bad. Now, of course, depends on where you're taking them. But like, I'm completely fine having Anthony Richardson unstacked for sure. AD Mitchell goes off the board at pick 128. Now, if this was Best Ball Mania, if we were chasing the highest ceiling possible in weeks 15, 16, 17, I would be in love with Trey Benson, Nick Chubb here. I think it would be an absolute no-brainer pick. Here it is definitely a lot tougher to make that argument. Here instead, we do need to keep in mind, if we wanted to go with one of these tight ends, the team after us already has two. The team after us has Laporta and Kittle. They can't take another. The team after us probably is going to look to go running back. They only have one. It's an eliminator draft. You have to have running back points in week 1. So what I think I'm actually going to do here is we're going to play a little catch up at wide receiver. We're going to go Mike Williams. We don't have a wide receiver with the week 12 bye currently. Our only other week 12 bye is James Cook. But we'll go Williams here at 131 and probably Frymuth at 139. But going tight end at 110, 139, I still think it sets up where we're allowed to take 3 tight ends in this draft. Okay. Okay, Trey Benson off the board at 132. Yeah, we're going to go ahead. Like I said, we were assuming that team ahead of us was going to go running back. We will take Pat Frymuth at 134. And like I said, I think this is a team where we can afford to go with 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. Probably wouldn't do it if it was Best Ball Mania. Probably wouldn't do it if it was most underdog tournaments. But specifically with this smaller fields contest where we're not chasing the highest ceiling possible in the final 3 weeks, I think it makes sense. Now at wide receiver, we have Puka, Dell, Amari, Palmer, and Mike Williams. Running back, we have Gibbs, Cook, Najee, Swift. Quarterback, we have Richardson. Tight end, we have Bowers. Looking at the bye weeks of these guys, our receivers, bye weeks, week 6, 14, 10, 5, 12. I want to reiterate, for the love of God, don't care about bye weeks in your regular fantasy football league. They don't matter here. This is one of the very few instances they do. Running back, bye weeks, Gibbs, 5. James Cook, 12. Najee, 9. Swift, 7. Quarterback, Anthony Richardson, 14. Tight end, Bowers, 10. Frymuth, 9. So, bye week spread out pretty evenly. I like the team. Okay. Henry says, sure looks like we were fooled on Ayuk going to Pittsburgh. Ayuk looks like he'll just be using other teams to drive up his price for San Francisco to have to pay him. Which, let me see if we have, I think Ricky put out something about Ayuk getting offered like $30 million a year or something ridiculous. I do think in general it's possible Ayuk's a little overrated. Yeah, the Niners have made an offer of $30 million per year to Brandon Ayuk today. That's what hashtag Trust Ricky is saying. Who knows if it's true? Where his latest report with CeeDee Lamb is the Cowboys offered Lamb $35.5 million. So, do I think the gap between Ayuk and Lamb is $3 million? No. I think Lamb is a completely different tier player than Ayuk. The Michael says, what should I be aiming for at the 1-2 turn this year in a happy BR 12-team Superflex? So I play in dynasty leagues year round. I mean, that's how I got started on YouTube, and I've been exclusively Superflex from a dynasty perspective since 2017. Every video I ever make that's dynasty, anything I ever talk about is Superflex. And what I found in dynasty is, from a league-to-league perspective, quarterback value is kind of consistent. However, in your regular redraft league, it is so difficult, where I've seen league mates treat one quarterback Superflex league as if it's the same as a Superflex and vice versa. So I would love to say, oh, okay, let's get an elite running back and a top-end quarterback at the 1-2 turn. In a Superflex redraft league, there's so much variance. It's very difficult for me to be able to try to map out what's going to happen in your league. Extremely difficult. Mikey says, one league I'm in has buff quarterbacks, 0.05 points per yard, 6-point passing touchdown. How early should the elite quarterbacks go? I think you should see the elite guys starting to go off in round 2. And one thing that will be very different that your league mates may not think about is if quarterbacks get 1 point per 20 passing yards rather than 1 point per 25. If quarterbacks as well are going to be getting 6 points per passing touchdown in comparison to 4 points per passing touchdown, what you are actually going to have is you are going to have quarterback. We're going to get Kirk Cousins here. Super easy pick in this format. I don't even care if the team after us most likely wouldn't go with the QB. We have to take Cousins at 155. But in those passing settings, what your league mates may not realize is the rushing quarterbacks are not as appealing. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels, the quarterbacks that are elite in 4-point passing touchdown formats where you only get 1 point per 25 yards because their rushing makes such a difference. Their rushing's not going to make up as much of a difference there, whereas guys like Goff, Kirk Cousins can actually bridge the gap a little bit with passing volume, where typically they just have no shot to in other kind of leagues. So yeah, Cousins here, 155. I think it's a no-brainer pick. Different buy than Richardson. I think we're going to go ahead and most likely take Michael Wilson here. Luke Musgrave, I don't know if we want to go with a third tight end this early. And at the same time, if you look at Musgrave, he does line up with the Bowers bye in week 10. So we're going to go ahead. We will take Michael Wilson at pick 158 as our 6th receiver. I freaking love this team. This team would be a garbage team in a regular underdog draft, but for this format, I think we've crushed it. And real quick, shout out to Trevor, another person coming to the Flock meetup. Hell yes, my guy. Excited to hang out with you if you're watching this. But anyway, wide receiver, we have Puka, Dell, Amari, Palmer, Mike Williams, Michael Wilson. Running back, we have Gibbs, James Cook, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift. Quarterback, we have Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins. Tight end, we have Bowers and Frymuth. Okay. Let's move this over. Caesar says, I know you've done videos on wide receivers and top offenses, but I'm curious what the data says about tight ends and top offenses as well. Maybe I can dive into it, my guy. How about this? After this live stream, I'll stay up all night. I'll do it. I'll do it. As for our next, and I'm not going to make a dedicated video for it, but I'll include it at the beginning of our next tight end rankings video. Raphael says naked Kirk Cousins. And the big Eliminator tournament, that's what we want, my guy. That is what we want. And yes, you can write it down. You can tell everybody, you can clip it. I do want a naked Kirk Cousins here. Okay. Frank says, drop a Flock windbreaker so I can support the channel. We have a bunch of merch coming in. The company is supposed to drop it off on Monday. We have a shirt, hoodie, hat. I'm going to be giving away a bunch of the stuff for free at the Flock meetup. In terms of selling merch, I probably will not. I don't know. I want to say never. But I don't know if I'll ever sell merch. I'll probably just give it to members like flockfantasy.com and stuff. Okay. Now, Womp says, in best ball, is it fine to have one or two of the same bye weeks for running backs and receivers? Girlfriend's doing a good job with the satellite tonight, by the way. Thank you. I definitely told her that she needed to make sure it was steady up there because she's been shaking it too much. But anyway, in most drafts, like a Best Ball Mania on Underdog, the puppy on Underdog, which I would recommend if you're new to Underdog, get in the $5 puppy. Do not get in a $100 draft. Those drafts, bye weeks do not matter. In your regular fantasy football league, bye weeks do not matter. The only reason it matters is this is an eliminator draft that any week throughout the entire year, if you're one of the worst teams, you can get eliminated. So only in this tournament will I be talking about buys, and only in this tournament I will be looking at them. Okay. Let's move this over. Tonio says 12-team, half PPR, single flex. We drafted Richardson, DK, Waddle, Saquon, JT, Goddard, Flex, Tank, Dell. How do you think it went? Kind of regret picking Tank instead of Connor. I think it's fine. I mean, if you're looking at what you should expect possibly from, Here, we'll quick. Sorry, trying to figure out what we should do here. I think we're going to take another QB just because of the tournament. But I think if you were looking at possibly James Conner versus Tank Dell in a one flex half PPR format, I'm honestly still fine taking Tank Dell. Tank Dell's in a good offense. He had a good rookie season going into year 2. That's the profile of someone that we are wanting to get. I think it's a strong team. I don't think you need to regret that at all, my guy. Okay, Jalen McMillan off the board, 180. I would love to take Big Q here, but I just don't know if we can. 16, 17, 18. We need one more running back at minimum. You know what? F it. Big Q, come on down. All right, let's get him in. Let's get him in. We're going to have Quentin Johnston here at 182. And then we'll move this over. There's no better pick. Beautiful. Like I said, we were getting our 14% up to 15%. Let's freaking go. And all jokes aside, BBQ, Big Q, whatever we want to call him, yes, he's most likely a bum. He was very bad last year. Rashad Bateman's been very bad for 3 years now. Jalen McMillan's most likely a bum. Wan'Dale Robinson's most likely a bum. DeMarcus Robinson has never been good. So I agree. Quentin Johnston's probably a bum, but all these guys are. Okay. Jeep Guy says, any nervousness for the flock meetup? So what I'm a little bit nervous about is just guys bringing their wives, guys bringing their girlfriends. As long as y'all tell them, like, hey, just a heads up. Here's a picture of this guy. Act cool. Don't lose your mind. That is something you always have to worry about, at least if you're walking around day to day, look like this. It just sometimes they can't handle themselves. So maybe we'll have security. But Fantasy Land says, guess who just landed in Austin? Hell yes. If there's anything wrong with hotel, for the love of God, let me know. Fantasyland 24-hour flight to come in for the draft week this year. They'll be making videos with us very, very soon. Should be a ton of fun. That's Zach and Badaki. You can see them on the right of that little poster. But I'm assuming it was, was it a 24-hour flight from Australia? Freaking nuts. Happy that y'all are in, and hopefully the flight wasn't too bad, my guys. And I can end this live stream right now if you want me to go get you from the airport, if possible. Just let me know. Okay. Augusta says, might bring my mom instead. Okay. Bringing your mom is just as dangerous as bringing your girlfriend, to be honest with you. I just have to, this is what my lawyer told me to get out in the live stream tonight. As long as y'all know, I am not legally legally I'm not responsible if anything happens. If your wife leaves you, it's not on me. I gave the warning. Okay. Fantasyland is hyped to be here. Hell yes. Hell yes. Bring all moms. We love moms. Yes. Fantasy Land will also be at the meetup. Frederick says, since it's in Austin, could you give your top 3 restaurants in Austin? Loro, ALC Steaks, both happy hour. Do the happy hour. Really good. The meetup, actually, the food looks great there as well. It's just like burgers, chicken sandwiches, and stuff like that. And then Cabo Bob's, if you like Chipotle, Cabo Bob's like a better Chipotle. I'd recommend that as well. Okay. Now, let's smooth this over. Parkinson off the board at 200. We're definitely looking to take another tight end. Our tight ends have bye weeks in weeks 10 and 9. We could go with Gesicki. Gesicki has been going undrafted in a lot of these. Running back, I may go. We're either going to go Tank or Roshan. Let's see what happens. Alex says, what happened to the Flock tournament Underdog? Is it over already? It probably just filled. Ooh, real quick. Gesicki goes. Tough for us. Spam the chat. Who do you want between Tank Bigsby and Roschon Johnson? We have James Cook with the week 12 bye. We have Roschon, same backfield as DeAndre Swift. Spam the chat. What are y'all wanting? And yeah, the flock tournament, there's a flock tournament that drops every Monday and Thursday nights. But yeah, they do fill relatively quickly, my guy. It's not going to be open for days. You got to get them in when you can. Okay, so Tank, Roschon, Tank. Roschon goes, so we don't even have the option. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Tank Bigsby. I will say Roschon Johnson this week in particular has been my most popular 18th round pick that I'm making. But I have a ridiculous amount of work that I need to do. So we're probably going to cut the live stream here. Definitely have a longer stream tomorrow night just because there's going to be so much to talk about with the preseason games. Probably start a little bit late tomorrow night as well, just because probably we'll want to watch some of these games. But of course, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you. If you want to get into draft with me tomorrow night, the night after, what I'd highly recommend if you're new to Underdog, do not do a $100 draft. Just do a $5 draft, please. But anyway, you can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat. Underdog is best ball, so there's no time commitment at all during the year. It's I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And of course, if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get my 2024 rankings, 2024 draft guide, 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheets, a 50% deposit bonus up to $250, and a Christian McCaffrey special pickup, more than less than half a total yard. Find that link in the description. But thank you. Really do appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. And really hope I get to draft with you tomorrow night.